Your greatest blessing may be hidden behind your greatest fear. And today, we are going to look directly at it, because this moment holds the key to transforming the relentless anxiety and crushing doubt that have held you captive into an unstoppable engine of purpose and peace. We're going to uncover how to break free from the invisible chains that bind you, not by waiting for a miracle, but by stepping into the power God has already placed within your daily actions. This isn't about finding a quick fix. It's about forging a new reality, one intentional step at a time, guided by a strength far greater than your own. You are on the precipice of understanding that the very struggles you face are the raw materials for your spiritual might, designed to refine, not to ruin. Many of us stand at a crossroads, feeling the weight of unmet expectations and the sting of daily battles that seem to chip away at our spirit. We whisper prayers into the quiet of our rooms, hoping for a sudden shift, a grand intervention. Yet the landscape of our lives often remains unchanged. We diagnose our struggles as a lack of opportunity, a shortage of resources, or simply bad luck. But what if the true diagnosis lies deeper? What if the real impediment isn't what's happening to you, but what's happening within you? Or rather, what's not happening? The truth is, many of us are waiting for a divine push, a clear sign etched in the sky, when the quiet, consistent discipline required for breakthrough is already within our grasp, a gift from God Himself. The enemy of your progress isn't just external, it's the subtle whisper of complacency, the seductive allure of comfort, and the paralyzing fear of discomfort. Imagine a life where you move with unwavering conviction, where every challenge becomes a stepping stone, and every morning brings not dread, but renewed purpose. What if I told you that this vibrant, resilient existence is not a distant dream, but a practical reality waiting to be cultivated? It starts with a simple choice, a turning of the heart towards active engagement with your faith, rather than passive reception. Are you ready to discover the profound power that comes from embracing the spiritual discipline that unlocks divine potential? If this message resonates with the longing in your spirit, I invite you to join this community. Share your thoughts. In the comments below, let us know what spiritual breakthroughs you are seeking, and consider becoming a part of this journey as we explore deeper truths together. One of the most insidious obstacles we face is the fear of the unknown, often disguised as procrastination or a desperate need for perfect conditions. I remember a man named Arthur, a gifted carpenter in his late 60s, who had a dream of building a community center in his small town. He had the skills, the passion, even a small plot of land. But for years, the blueprints lay gathering dust, and the wood sat untouched in his workshop. He'd tell anyone who asked, "I'm just waiting for the right time, when the weather is perfect, or when I have all the funding, or when I feel perfectly rested." The truth was, Arthur was terrified of failure, of the sheer scale of the project, and of the inevitable struggles that would arise. He was waiting for a smooth path, forgetting that true growth often happens on rocky terrain. His faith was strong in prayer, but weak in practical application. He believed God would provide, but he wasn't willing to pick up a single hammer until everything was laid out perfectly. It was only when a young pastor, seeing his paralysis, gently reminded him of the parable of the talents, not waiting for a perfect harvest, but investing what you have, that Arthur began to shift. He started small, clearing the land, then laying just a few foundation stones each day, even when he felt tired or uncertain. The principle of overcoming here is simple yet profound. God blesses action, not just intention. He doesn't ask us to see the whole staircase, just the first step. Another profound obstacle, one that often blindsides us, is the insidious belief that our struggles are a sign of God's absence or disfavor. We mistakenly assume that a life of faith should be a path devoid of hardship, a gentle stroll through sunlit meadows. This leads to a surprising revelation. The very discomfort you try so desperately to avoid, the struggle you pray to be delivered from, is often the precise instrument God uses to forge your greatest strength and reveal His deepest power within you. Consider the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel in Genesis. It wasn't a pleasant encounter. It left him with a limp. Yet, it was through that night of agonizing struggle, that relentless wrestling, that his name was changed from Jacob, the deceiver, to Israel, one who struggles with God and prevails. The limp was not a sign of weakness, but a permanent, visible reminder of his divine encounter and the strength he gained through perseverance. This isn't just an ancient tale. It's a living truth for us today. When you feel the weight of a challenge pressing down on you, when the path ahead seems shrouded in doubt and the voice of fear whispers its lies, understand this: that very pressure is not a sign of your abandonment, but an invitation to a deeper, more intimate encounter with God's refining fire. It's in the wrestling that we find our true identity and unlock a resilience we never knew we possessed. The practical application: stop running from the struggle. Lean into it. See it as your spiritual forge, where the heat of adversity and the hammer of discipline shape you into something stronger, something more aligned with God's purpose for your life. This understanding marks a pivotal turning point in our spiritual journey. It's the moment we cease viewing our challenges as interruptions to our faith and begin to see them as integral components of its growth. The central biblical truth here is echoed powerfully in James 1:2-4, which tells us, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." This isn't a call to masochism or a dismissal of legitimate pain. It's an invitation to a transformed interior landscape. It's about cultivating a mindset where discomfort isn't a deterrent, but a divine signal for growth. When you embrace this truth, the very nature of your internal battles shifts. Your mind, once a battlefield of doubts and anxieties, becomes a training ground. Conquering small daily battles, silencing the voice that tells you to hit snooze instead of praying, choosing to serve when you'd rather rest, pushing through the resistance to study His Word. These are not just minor victories. They are spiritual exercises that build an unshakable confidence in Christ. This inner transformation is where true power resides. It's the moment you realize that your strength isn't found in avoiding the fight, but in engaging it with the unwavering assurance that God is not just with you, but actively working through you, forging your spirit in the crucible of everyday life. This new perspective allows us to see our lives not as a series of random events, but as a purposeful journey of spiritual development. It's about shifting from passively waiting for blessing to actively cultivating the ground for it. Let me tell you about Sarah, a young woman who for years struggled with chronic indecision and a deep-seated fear of commitment. She'd start numerous projects, eager and passionate, only to abandon them when the initial excitement wore off or the first hurdle appeared. She prayed for clarity, for a sign, for God to just tell her what to do. Her spiritual life felt stagnant, a continuous cycle of starting and stopping. Then, she heard a sermon on the power of daily, consistent action, even when the path isn't perfectly clear. It spoke of faith not as a feeling, but as a muscle developed through use. Sarah decided to apply this. She chose one small, consistent spiritual discipline, waking up 30 minutes earlier each day to read a chapter of Proverbs and spend time in focused prayer. The first few weeks were a battle. Her bed felt like a warm embrace. Her mind raced with excuses. But she pushed through, reminding herself that this wasn't about perfection, but about presence. What began as a forced routine slowly transformed into a craving. As she consistently showed up for God in the quiet morning hours, something profound shifted. The clarity she had prayed for didn't come as a lightning bolt, but as a gentle unfolding. The discipline in her mornings began to spill over into her career, her relationships, even her physical health. She started a small online ministry, something she had always dreamed of, and this time, she stuck with it, embracing the challenges as opportunities to grow. Her testimony isn't about a sudden miracle,
but about the miraculous power of consistent
obedience, transforming a life of indecision into one of purpose and impact. So how do we translate this profound truth into practical, daily living? The first step is to declare war on mediocrity in your own life. This isn't about striving for perfection, but for excellence in the pursuit of God's will. Begin by dominating your mornings. The way you start your day often dictates the trajectory of your spirit. Before the world rushes in, before the demands of others flood your inbox, dedicate those sacred early hours to God. Whether it's 5 minutes of quiet prayer, 15 minutes of scripture reading, or simply sitting in His presence, make it non-negotiable. This isn't about earning His favor. It's about aligning your spirit with His before the day's battles begin. Secondly, embrace the spiritual forge principle. When discomfort arises, when you face a challenge that makes you want to retreat, consciously choose to lean in. See it as an opportunity for God to refine you, to expose hidden strengths, and to deepen your reliance on Him. This could mean taking on a task you fear, engaging in a difficult conversation with grace, or simply persevering through a season of weariness with unwavering faith. Remember, God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. Your vision for a life of purpose and peace isn't some distant fantasy. It's a divine blueprint waiting for your disciplined action to bring it to fruition. This is your invitation to rewrite your story, to shed the skin of weakness and complacency, and to step into the powerful, resilient identity God has always intended for you. This journey is not about eliminating pain, but about transforming it into power. It's about recognizing that every obstacle, every setback, every moment of fear is an opportunity to deepen your trust in God and to forge a spirit that is unyielding. Think of it like a river. A river doesn't flow around obstacles. It flows through them, carving new paths, gaining strength from the very resistance it encounters. You are that river, and God is the source of your unstoppable flow. The anxieties that once paralyzed you can become the fuel for your fervent prayers. The doubts that whispered defeat can be silenced by the roar of your conviction. The pain you carry, it can be transformed into empathy, wisdom, and an unshakable testimony of God's redemptive power. No longer will you be defined by what happens to you, but by how God works through you. This is the promise of a life lived in active partnership with the Creator, a life where every step, no matter how small, is infused with divine purpose. It's a vision of you, standing tall, not because life has been easy, but because you have learned to wield the sword of discipline and the shield of faith. This is your moment. This is your call. If you are ready to embrace this journey, to step into the disciplined life that unlocks God's extraordinary power, then I invite you to share your own story in the comments below. Tell us how a moment of discipline has transformed your life, or what spiritual challenge you are ready to conquer next. Your voice matters, and your experience can inspire countless others. And if there are specific topics or struggles you'd like us to explore in future messages, let us know. Together, we can build a community of unwavering faith and unstoppable action.